Welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, longtime Percy Jackson fan and Annabeth Chase defender.
And I'm Julie, #1 Tyson superfan.
And this is a podcast about Julie reading Percy Jackson for the first time and letting me yap about it. We are joined this week by Bella, not our typical Bella, but a fresh new Bella, aka Percy Jackson _post on Instagram.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I've been very excited.
Do you want to tell us about your Demigod debut, how you got introduced to Percy Jackson?
Yeah, I feel as though I went in sort of an opposite pipeline where I got really into Greek mythology as a child and was given things like the movies and the books by family and friends. And I just put them all on a shelf, let them rot until I was like early mid high school. And I was like, might as well.
Oh, that is opposite. That's so interesting.
I wish I had gotten into it earlier because I think my grandma gave me my first book when I was about 10 years old. And I was like, good amount of my life would have been different if I went ahead and read those earlier. But I was like, no, good.
Yeah, for sure. And so was it just like love at first read in high school or?
Oh, yeah. I read the first book. And by the next week, I had gotten the rest of the series. And by October, I had read like Through Heroes of Olympus. And I was like, yeah, this is my new personality trait.
Incredible.
I love it.
I feel like when the Yankees game starts here in a minute, we might lose Julie a little bit.
I just might have the play-by-play up on my phone,
That's justified.
I mean, the Astros have been out for like a week now, so I'm like, postseason baseball, what is it? Not my concern anymore.
Cleveland Guardians just blew it.
I know, I was looking at that, and that's why I knew the Yankees game was starting soon, because I was like, when do the Yankees start? Because Julie's gonna want to know that.
She's already locked in.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about baseball. Who's ready to talk about horseshit?
I feel like I should have picked a better chapter to be like, oh, this is the one I want to talk about. As soon as I read the title, I was like, why did I do this?
And I scoop poop. I mean, it's great. What else would you want in the chapter that you're discussing?
So much poop.
And also, our first ever horses that aren't obsessed with Percy, which is kind of refreshing because I feel like the Pegasi sometimes are a little bit too into him. And no 14-year-old boy needs that. Like, he's going to get a huge ego.
They're gonna humble him a little bit.
Right. Yeah, because they want to eat him and his father as seafood. And you know what? Keep him on his toes.
I love it.
And then the reason that Percy is like, oh yeah, I could totally clean these stables is because he remembers from the myth of like Hercules cleaning these stables that he had like rerouted a river and Percy's the water guy. So he was like, yeah, I can do that too. I do appreciate that he actually had a plan going into this one and it wasn't just a spur of the moment kind of thing. Like Annabeth is rubbing off on him just a little, but the plan just immediately falls apart because he can't get near the horses without getting eaten. The river is half a mile away. There's a lot more poop up close. It's kind of a hopeless situation, much like my bedroom right now. I think every shoe I have ever worn is on the floor and I just like step over them instead of putting them away. But at least it's not poop.
Did you have a meltdown about your shoes earlier?
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Oh, they're organized at least.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the ones that I wear for running are all like in a line. They have a spot, but other shoes are just around.
I'm like extremely organized. That could not be me.
Must be nice. I am not. But like if my things are put away, I forget that they exist. So any shoes that are put away don't get worn. So they kind of have to be out so that I see them. And I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, I do have those.
See, I have like an open shoe rack and then like a hanging shoe curtain thing. So I see them luckily, but
yeah, I probably need to make my shoes more visible. I lost my spot now.
We're talking about poop.
Yeah, so then Percy goes to the river and he meets Anaya there. And she's an icon. She's like, I don't care who you are. You're not going to be using my river to clean these stables. The last guy who asked me that was way cuter than you, by the way, and absolutely destroyed the river. So no, thank you. Goodbye.
Devastating blow to 14-year-old Percy.
Absolutely. But also, even if you think you're like cute at 14, you're not. You're 14.
That's very true. Everyone looks awkward at 14.
Yeah, everyone has their worst phase between 12 and 14.
My big 14-year-old phase is like, I have no normal pictures from when I was 14 because I was like, I am so ugly that I cannot smile normally in a picture. So I just like made stupid faces because I was like, if I'm being like ugly on purpose, then it's like it's a bit. I'm committing to a bit. It's not just because I'm ugly. So in every single picture, I'm making like the worst face imaginable. And now I look back and I'm like, why were you doing that? What's wrong with you?
I cut my hair into a pixie cut and dyed it orange.
Iconic.
And so there's just a real giant chunk of time with like the worst photos. And then I have only dyed my hair twice. And that was one of them. And it was just months and months of pictures of me just slowly growing it back out after realizing this is not the look.
Orange pixie cut is such a choice. I love that.
I wanted, I don't know the character's name, but once upon a time, Snow White, I didn't go for the Snow White hair. I was like, I'm gonna go specifically for the pixie cut. And then I was like, it'd be real cool if I dyed my almost black hair red. And it was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. It's just orange now.
Oh, the things we do when we're 14.
I think I cut myself some side bangs when I was 14.
Oh, the side bangs. That was a big thing.
That, and I still had braces, so it was not a good look.
Oh yeah, I also had the braces from ages like 13 to 15. It was a time.
Mm-hmm.
Never had braces. I'm just better than you guys. No.
Oh, okay. Do we think any of the characters in Percy Jackson had or have braces?
Grover gives me braces vibes. Brace face.
Grover and Tyson both have braces vibes.
Tyson would be so cute with braces.
Tyson would be precious.
It feels fitting.
I would love that.
Yeah. I think Percy, no. And then
Annabeth could, but I feel like she just doesn't.
I feel like Annabeth spent her prime braces years just like living at camp and
no one to care for her.
Right. Oh. Like she had no parents to give her braces. I say as if I didn't get braces like after she had already gone home, but I don't know. I feel like the Annabeth who had gone home after the lightning thief, if her dad was like, I think you need braces, she'd be like, absolutely not. That's not happening.
I'm imagining 7-year-old Annabeth with braces.
Aww.
And then Luke and Thalia being like, hey, eventually we have to take these off. If she had braces at that age, there is a point where somebody had to like take pliers to the small child and be like, hey.
She actually just had the same braces from the time she was 7 to the time she was 12.
Oh.
She's got one of the like 11-year-old medical doctors at camp fixing her up every few months. They're like, yeah, we got this.
God, the situation at camp, like you just kind of have to joke about it because if you think about it too much, it's sad because like the medical and dental neglect that these children are being subjected to is not great.
The student to teacher ratio is horrendous.
Oh my God, what about all the girls like learning about their periods?
Oh God.
Like, can you imagine you're a half-blood and then you also are just getting your period on top of this for the first time?
God, and Mr. D has to explain to you what's happening.
Oh,
that's horrifying.
I'm laughing, but I'm realizing, like, yeah, Annabeth's there from 7 to 12. So there's, like, a very real possibility.
That was actually the punishment that Zeus had in mind when he sent Mr. D to camp.
Absolutely.
You'll forever be giving middle schoolers
the birds and the bees.
Oh.
Yeah, you would have to have sex ed with, like, Chiron and Mr. D.
But honestly, like, speaking of the child medical doctors, they're probably the ones who have to do it. Because these adults aren't doing anything.
I'm just imagining, like, a really nervous, like, 11 to 13-year-old coming over, like, hey, is your body changing? And they've got, like, a pamphlet in their hand.
Meanwhile, their own body has not even started changing.
It's like, who is that teacher from Glee?
Oh, Miss Pillsbury?
Yeah, she had, like, a pamphlet for everything.
That is, like, my first thought. I was like, it would be those kind of pamphlets with, like, an insane title and graphic.
Oh God, how did we get here?
Braces. Dorky 14-year-olds,
braces, exactly.
Derailed this a bit.
Speaking of just dorky 14-year-old things, I feel like probably my concerns about Percy getting a big ego from the horses is probably unfounded, considering the way, women, this naiad, treat him. Because the way he's immediately like, oh, she reminds me of my mortal friend Rachel Elizabeth Dare, who's kind of like always punching me with words. And the decision to equate this with Rachel is quite interesting to me because we've only met Rachel twice. Once at the dam, once at school. And this is kind of the first time he's mentioned Rachel outside of his interactions with her, or like talking about his interactions with her. I also feel like there would have been a point where Percy would interact with like a woman who was being mean to him and think of Annabeth. But the fact that he's not doing that right now is interesting because, like, obviously their relationship is kind of shifting, and I think this kind of indicates the way he's kind of seeing Annabeth a little bit differently, maybe because Annabeth isn't really someone who's like punching him with her words anymore because she kind of likes him too much for that. Like, he's endeared himself to her.
It's interesting how much the relationship has shifted. Like, I feel like you can sense it most in this book with just Percy's inner dialogue and all his little crush stuff is very funny it's funny to read.
In the last book, he was very much like, I don't have a crush on Annabeth. And now he's kind of like, Annabeth is incredibly important to me, and like she's the most important person in my life, and Annabeth is the smartest and the best. And so he's not like saying like I have a crush on Annabeth, but it's like he is admitting to himself that Annabeth is incredibly important to him. And that is incredibly important to me as well, just as a fan of the two of them.
I love their dynamic in this book so much.
They just are unmatched in this one. Oh, and I also love that Percy's kind of thought is, you know what, now that I think about it, I wouldn't like it if somebody dumped a ton of poop in my home either. Like, what an excellent take.
Excellent observation.
Thank you for that truly wonderful and brand new bit of information. You know, I do appreciate that Percy always kind of manages to empathize with a person that he is at odds with. He's very willing to see where other people are coming from, and he like very much wants to see the good in people. And I love that about him. But one notable exception that I thought of, it was with like Briares in the last chapter. Like, Percy had absolutely no patience, no empathy for him at all. Percy was so mean to him.
Yeah, there was no like reasoning behind it besides like, oh, we need to get out of here. He was just like, I have a problem with you specifically.
It almost feels like he was pulling a Julie and just having a problem with him because he was hurting Tyson.
Yes, that's correct. That's my moral compass. If you hurt Tyson in any way, you are evil.
I support that.
It's pretty black and white.
Because Tyson is perfect and has done nothing wrong ever.
Exactly. My perfect little prince. I love him.
Tyson rules. Oh, also, another thing for you, Julie. Did you appreciate the way Percy didn't want to continue to fight with the Naiad when he realized that she was scared of him because he didn't want to be a bully? Because we all know how you feel about bullies.
Yeah, I'm anti-bully, but pro-bullying a little bit. Kids in public school need to be bullied a little bit, or else they turn into jerks when they're adults. But I don't like bullying just for the sake of bullying. Anyway, I do love their little interaction. She was very like fake confident. She was like, don't mess with me. I'm not gonna let you like step all over me. But she was obviously nervous. And I was like, good for you, standing up for yourself, girl. I love it.
Feminist icon, this random river Naiad.
Yes.
Because just goes to show us that women can be nervous and powerful at the same time.
True.
I do love that Percy is essentially in the scene like, oh, I'm kind of being a jerk here. I don't want to be like Hercules. I should probably figure out a way how to do this that's not going to upset this girl. Like, he doesn't know her, but he's like, okay, she made a good point. I don't want to be that guy.
And I mean, I feel like I keep bringing up stuff from past books, but that was kind of his whole arc in Titans, not whole arc, but it's kind of a big arc for him in the Titans Curse, realizing like, I don't want to be Hercules. Like, I think he literally says that at one point. He's like, I'm not Hercules. I don't want to be Hercules. Like, I'm going to do things differently. And, you know, he just continues to kind of do things his own lovely little way. And I love him.
I appreciate all of the Hercules hate throughout these books.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, this guy and all these myths did kind of suck.
Yeah. But it does kind of make you wonder if Percy was even like half as empathetic and kind, what would he be able to accomplish? Like, if he just lost it and he didn't care who he hurt, who he used, because like, we're not there yet, but what he's about to do in the stables is like insanely powerful. And it just feels like the gods are very lucky to be dealing with Luke, son of Hermes, who doesn't care who he hurts, and not this guy with crazy water powers. Because the way Luke just completely disregards Annabeth and like uses her and doesn't care that she's getting hurt in the process, like if Percy was that same way, Olympus would have already been like in rubble on the ground at this point.
I don't know if it's because he's like the main character that he feels so overpowered, or if it's like, yeah, having control over water does feel like the strongest of even just the big three powers.
It does, yeah, because you've got water, you've got lightning, and then you've got like summoning ghosts.
Choose your weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very much like the power with the most possibility. And I feel like if you really did extend it to like horrifying levels, it could be absolute monster.
It could be so cool, but unfortunately, he's a hero and he's nice.
Disappointing.
Like sometimes I look at Percy and I just think of that meme that's like, aren't you tired of being nice? Don't you just want to go ape shit? Like, come on. Percy can go a little nuts as a treat.
I love that.
Just a little.
I also love the thing where it's like, it costs $0 to be kind. And then someone's like, it also costs $0 to be a hater. I'm like,
Right, exactly. Like you can neither things cost money.
Need one scene where Percy's just an absolute jerk for no reason. It's out of character, but I want to see it.
I mean, Briare's, I guess. He was a little bit of a jerk.
nope, that was deserved. That was deserved.
Deserved hater.
Right, because he hurt Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Naiad. You know, she probably wouldn't have helped him if he hadn't been kind and nice, but he is kind and nice. And she shows Percy the little tiny petrified seashells in the dirt and says that this land was once underwater and like there's water within him and all these like the kind of things that I feel like you would imagine in like the big power up speech, like as a character is discovering their powers. But like, of course, Percy's like, I don't know what this means, but okay. And so then he like goes back to the stables and he says that someone came by to feed the horses while he was gone, which kind of made me think about what's going on back at the house. Because I imagine it was like our friend Eurydion who came to feed them, because I doubt Garyon is the one getting his hands dirty. And so I'm going to write a little bit of fan fiction here. So just like go with me because I'm just imagining some things back at the house. Because like when Percy comes back later, he says that they're all like bound and gagged. Maybe they really are just evil, but I can't think of any reason to like gag a bunch of children unless they were being really, really annoying. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Eurydion goes to feed the cows, and when he comes back, Annabeth is just like so annoying, asking for information about like, how's Percy? How's Percy? And I also am kind of imagining a moment where Eurydion is like, oh, Percy wasn't even there, and Garyon does like a classic villain thing, like, ha, he probably left, like you're probably alone. Ha ha ha. And then I'm just imagining Grover, Tyson, and Annabeth like getting really annoying and like yelling at him, and then so then they have to get like gagged so they shut up. That's what I'm imagining. So anyway,
I love your fan fiction.
It's beautiful.
thank you. Would you give me kudos on AO3?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank God. Anyway, horses.
The imagery in this scene of the horses like having the meat in their teeth from the carcass.
Horrifying.
I hated that so deeply.
Most things about this stable, like all of the image setting is like deeply upsetting.
Rick clocking in for this one scene to be like, hey, what's the grossest thing I can write for my children's book this month?
And here it is. It's flesh-eating horses living in terrible conditions.
In literal horseshit. Disgusting.
So Percy's like, water a million years ago doesn't help me. And so he throws one of the shells into the poop and it summons a tiny little water spout. And so, you know, he does it more and more and more. And then there's like tons of water and the horses are saying stuff like meat is good, baths are bad, which I feel like is the same thing that like my dogs would think. And the way he talks about what is happening is fascinating. Like he's like, it's really intense, but it's also exhilarating. It's like I made this, I brought the ocean to this Texas ranch. I think this is the biggest display of power we've seen from him so far. Before this, I feel like the biggest thing he's done might have been when he like picked up the entire creek to throw it at Thalia during Capture the Flag. But this just like making water where there's no water, this is insanely overpowered. What are the limits of this? Can he do this in any place? This is not explored nearly enough, and I need answers.
Yeah, just the idea that the seashells hold so much water and that he's just able to make essentially geysers out of seashells is crazy. And it's like, oh, it's powerful enough to clean all the poop, clean the horses until they shine. Like, what? Where was this in like any other book?
Like, could you just drop him in any location on the earth and he could just get water? He could just make water?
I need to know the limits.
Even in the desert, like, would he be able to, like, get water from cactuses?
I also just can't imagine that Annabeth wouldn't be really interested in answering this question as well. Like, I feel like she would want to do some experimenting and she would want to know exactly what the limits of his powers are. I mean, it wouldn't quite be ethical to test this because I feel like to really figure out where his limits are, you would have to like push him to the absolute max, which would probably result in him like needing medical attention, which is like not great when you are doing a test with like a human subject, but I feel like she would want this information. She would want this information, so I feel like they would have to test this at some point, I think.
Just young Annabeth dragging him to random locations and having him be like a water tester.
Can you make water here? Can you do this here?
Percy, I have a crazy idea. We're going on vacation. And just dropping him in random locations. Like, do the thing.
And then, he also has trouble getting the geysers to like stop because who would have thought big shows of power can have consequences? But he does manage to stop it. The stables are clean. The horses are also scared of him, as they should be. This is like deserved hero worship from horses. Not even really hero worship. I don't know what I would call it.
They're kind of afraid of him, right?
This is like reverence, maybe? I don't know.
Respect?
Yeah, this is deserved respect from the horses. Because he's like shown that he's really cool. Like Blackjack just likes him because nothing. Like Percy has not earned the right to be called boss by Blackjack.
Vibes only for Blackjack.
Yeah, exactly. How did we feel about the levels of poop discussion in this chapter? Because I feel like it could have been worse, but I still could have done without it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good stance.
Could always do with less poop.
Right, no, exactly.
Can never have too little.
I feel like even as a middle schooler, I wouldn't have found this as funny. Like, I would have been like, this is still gross. So who is this for?
It's not written as a joke.
That's true. It's just a fact of life.
Okay, so then Percy heads on back to the house, and he gets really mad when he smells the barbecue cooking, which is just a funny detail. But they are in Texas, so I bet that is some dang good barbecue.
I noted that because I think it's so funny for him to be like, not only did I clean up poop, they had barbecue without me. Like, it's such a point for him.
Yeah, it's a thing. And you know what? He should be mad. Then he demands that Garyon release his friends. And also, Garyon is wearing 3 separate aprons that say, like, kiss the chef with 1 word on each, which another just fun detail. Of course, Garyon is like, unfortunately, you didn't make me swear on the river Styx, so I'm selling these kids anyway. Who could have seen that coming? Oh, wait, Julie did, because you predicted that.
You can't trust that guy. Can't trust him.
And then Garyon orders Eurydion to kill them, and he refuses, which Percy says is the most un-Ares-like thing he's ever heard a son of Ares say. I think Eurydion is the realest character in this book so far. Like, he's just a dude who is tired of his terrible boss and doing this job he hates.
I do love that he's like, wait, I can overthrow my horrible boss with these preteens.
Exactly.
I have an opportunity.
Use the preteens for your own good. So then Garyon has to fight Percy himself, and turns out, because, nothing is ever easy, he cannot be killed via sword because he's got 3 chests and 3 hearts and all that fun stuff. So, Percy does the natural thing, runs inside, finds a bow and arrow, and despite being a terrible archer, he prays really hard to Artemis and Apollo and gets very lucky with 1 good shot. Thank God. Or thank the gods, I guess.
It's like the JFK assassination. Do you think they do like conspiracy theories about it, like the magic bullet, but it's the magic arrow?
Julie, what the hell?
Wake up, babe. New JFK conspiracy just dropped.
This just popped into my head.
Was Lee Harvey Oswald a child of Apollo?
He was a demigod.
We have no proof that he wasn't.
Exactly.
Don't let Rick Riordan hear that. He will make it happen.
It's one of those events that I feel like there's enough time now that he'd be willing to add it.
There's so many conspiracy theories about it. It's like a joke now. You could do it.
My God.
Will someone write a fan fiction about this, please? I would read it.
Anyway, so off the assassination thing.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, fella, like you were saying, after Eurydion used these preteens to kill his terrible boss, he's like, yeah, you can go after you just did me this favor. And he says that, like, he and Garyon are really tied together and, like, he can't leave the ranch. And I want to know why, because I tried to look it up and I couldn't find anything. But like, what is the lore here? Why can't he leave? Why is he stuck there?
Married.
Yeah, it was like it's giving almost like, are we boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, in love?
They were married hundreds of years ago.
It's not a very healthy relationship.
The messy. I always assumed it was a real myth that like surely they had been tied to one another in some other way.
And maybe it is, but just because I also didn't spend like a really long time researching it. But like basically what I could tell of the myth is like Iridian and Orthus are kind of, they just take care of Gerion's cattle. And then when Hercules came to get the cattle, he like killed both of them. And that was kind of the gist of what I found. Like there was nothing about like how Uridian ended up working for Geryon and taking care of his cattle. Like it's probably out there, or maybe Rick made it up. I don't know.
I like it though, just the idea that in most cases the immortality thing comes with like a catch. Like, oh yeah, you can be immortal, but you have to work with this one guy for the rest of eternity.
True. Immortality is not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, Uridian even says that. He's like, it's the worst mistake I ever made when taking the immortality when my dad offered it. But, I do hope that he makes all the changes that Percy suggested to make the ranch not quite so evil. And also, lucky for us, they did not already get a message to the Titan army about Nico, but Nico isn't quite down for Percy's suggestion that he stay here at the ranch. Because once again, he's like, you don't care if I'm safe, you killed my sister, and I'm gonna bring her back. To which Percy's like, that isn't what Bianca would want. And he knows that because they're actually besties, and Bianca has been sending him iris messages so that he can protect Nico. Do we think that's a thing that all ghosts can do? Or does Bianca get special privileges because Hades is her dad? Like, how is she sending messages from the great beyond?
Oh, she gets phone privileges.
Little nepotism is happening there, I think.
I think probably.
It's absolutely demigod nepotism.
So then, follow-up question. If you could send iris messages from the afterlife, what do you think you would try to be, like, what would you send? Who would you send it to? What would you be doing? And don't be like, I would want to talk to my family, let them know I'm okay. Boring.
My immediate thought is like, I wouldn't pick something boring. I feel like I'd find somebody, this might be a niche, but like BuzzFeed Unsolved, I'd go for somebody like Shane, who's very like ghosts don't exist. Like I want to find a skeptic and be like, hey,
get his ass. Yeah, I told you Ryan was right the whole time.
Just keep somebody on their toes for the rest of their life.
I love that. See, I would love to expose people, especially like people who are cheating or something. Like, boom, you send an iris message to their partner, exposed.
Oh.
Like a friend is talking behind another friend's back. Oh, guess what? Your friend heard it all through the iris message I just sent them. I'm like, I would love to be as messy as possible if I was sending iris messages from beyond the grave.
Do it to like a very famous politician, but give them like some incorrect message just so they start acting really weird. Like, oh yeah, the world's gonna end in 10 days. You have to donate all your money right now. Just so there's a little bit more fun in the world.
Get Jeff Bezos. Get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start targeting billionaires.
Oh wait, I'm thinking I'm talking to them. No, this is just so the message connects to people.
Well, no, we can get into who you would haunt as a ghost.
Yeah, wait. I'm just haunting people. I forgot about the iris message entirely.
So Percy also kind of thinks about the line in the prophecy that talks about how they'll rise or fall by the Ghost King's hand. And he's like, that has to be Minos. And so we have to convince Nico not to listen to him. So they decide to summon Bianca with root beer and barbecue. Delicious.
Ugh. Root beer? Give me something better.
I feel like if this was not a kid's book, it absolutely, like, you're on a Texas ranch, now it's beer and barbecue. You just added the root because this is the target audience is children.
Rick writing beer and then be like, wait, back up.
Not that there hasn't been beer. Like, didn't we talk a lot about beer in relation to Gabe?
Oh yeah.
So I guess it could have been beer. I don't know. You just can't convince me that a guy like Uridian, who's immortal and kind of hates his life, is drinking root beer, non-alcoholic root beer.
There's alcohol somewhere on that ranch.
Exactly.
Unless like for some reason they're like, yeah, I'm really into sobriety.
Yeah, maybe that's his journey in immortality is getting sober, and you know what? Maybe we should just support him in that.
I think he can have a little alcohol as a treat. for being stuck with Garyon.
Yes. No, I agree. But also, we probably shouldn't summon the ghost of a 12-year-old girl with beer. That feels a little...
That feels predatory. Have you ever seen To Catch a Predator? That's how that feels.
Yeah, like, let me use this beer to lure 12-year-old girl to me. Yeah, no, that feels icky. That feels icky.
I'm just imagining Percy dumping the beer into the septic tank and whatever the guy's name is walking out and be like, "You're out to catch a predator."
Chris Hansen.
Yes, Chris Hansen.
Anything else on chapter 9?
My biggest takeaway is it kind of feels at this point, whenever they talk about Nico and Percy's relationship, I think of the John Mulaney babysitting bit where it's like, that's just a slightly bigger child.
Yes. Yes.
Percy should not be in charge of Nico's like entire well-being.
And I mean, it is kind of Percy's own fault because he refusing to tell any other adult about Nico. Like, he won't tell Chiron who Nico actually is. It is kind of Percy's fault, but also, we need an adultier adult in this situation. We need an adult, period. Not even an adultier adult. We need an adult.
Currently, the Dude Ranch and Minos are the best parental figures Nico has.
God, and I have a lot to say about Minos next chapter, so talk about To Catch a Predator. Anyway, chapter 10, we play the game show of death. And there is a lot in this chapter that is not playing the game show of death. Like, in fact, the game show is a very small part of this chapter at the very end. Because we start, with our typical seance. We're chanting, there's soda, all that good stuff. And of course, Minos is the first spirit to appear, drink from the ritual, even though it isn't for him. And he does say that he came to protect Nico from these liars who are trying to deceive him. This is just grooming. Like, he's manipulating a little boy who is grieving and getting him to rely only on him for his own nefarious purposes. It's creepy and it's weird and I hate it.
It's gross.
This is where we need Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, Minos looks at Percy and is unimpressed and is like, sons of Poseidon really haven't improved over the centuries, which...
Rude.
I assume is just a dig at Theseus. I don't know. Is he saying that like Theseus was better than Percy, or is he like Sons of Poseidon all suck? I don't really know what he's getting at here, but I did look up Theseus because I really knew a couple of things about Theseus, and it's all like the ways that we kind of have heard about Theseus, like in this book series, like one being slaying the Minotaur in the Labyrinth. Then you have like what Mr. D told us last book about how Theseus abandoned Ariadne after she helped him find his way through the maze. There's also, the whole forgetting to raise the white sails when he returned home. And so then his stepfather was like, oh, he died, and then threw himself off a cliff. And then, there's also the whole ship of Theseus thing. Like, is it the same ship if we replace all the boards? And my answer to that is, who cares?
That was in my podcast I listened to last week, my legal podcast. It's a podcast about John Roberts, and they're talking about Theseus's ship. The podcast episode was specifically about like John Roberts' legacy on the court, and then they were explaining to their third co-host who had never heard of the Theseus's ship like reference what it was, and I was like, oh my god.
You're like, I also have a podcast we're about to discuss Theseus's ship somehow.
I know, it's crazy.
Every time I hear that argument, I'm like, who cares? Who cares if it's the same ship? I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best stance on it, because if I think about it too much, then I'm just confused and annoyed. I'm like, it's still a ship. Just use the ship.
I don't know. It's the same idea of a ship, and who cares? It's a ship. A ship is a ship. Okay, but a new thing that I learned about Theseus on Wikipedia is that apparently Theseus tried to kidnap Helen of Troy. Like, he and one of his friends, who's apparently a son of Zeus, they were like, we need to get women, and they're gonna be great women. So Theseus is like, I'm gonna kidnap Helen of Troy. And then his friend is like, and I want to kidnap Persephone. And so they like went to the underworld to try and kidnap Persephone. And the Wikipedia article literally calls him Theseus, a great abductor of women. Like, that is not great. That is not a good look for Theseus.
No, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Helen and Persephone cannot catch a break.
No, exactly. I'm like, these poor women. But anyway, Sons of Poseidon have improved over the years because Percy's great, and we just had a whole conversation about how great Percy is and how moral and nice he is. And you know how many women Percy has kidnapped? 0. And that's the correct number. Also, the next thing out of Minos' mouth is, I heard you slayed my Minotaur with your bare hands. What do you mean you're unimpressed? He was 12 when he did that. Like, that is so impressive. Don't come for Percy. I will fight. Maybe I should have said in the beginning I'm a Percy Jackson defender.
I don't think that needs to be said. We know.
I'll defend all of them. I defend all of them except for Luke. Except for Luke. That man is
As it should be.
yeah. Also, Minos says that Daedalus isn't gonna help them because he's old and bitter. And it's also revealed that he's the one who made Chris Rodriguez go mad, so super great guy. And Nico makes Minos leave and they manage to summon Bianca. God, this scene has to be top 10 saddest scenes, I think, in anything Rick Riordan has ever written, because the way that she addresses Percy first, before her brother, and the way that Percy immediately apologizes for what happens and she reassures him she made her own choice. It wasn't his fault, which is correct, but I think he needed that. And like then she looks at Nico. I'm like, why were you talking to Percy first? But she looks at Nico and she's like, you've gotten so tall. And he's like, why didn't you answer me? And she's like, I had hoped you would give up. Ugh. Imagine. Like, I don't have an older sister, but if one of my siblings said this to me, I would be devastated. Like, what do you mean you weren't picking up when I called you because you hoped I would give up? Even in a not ghost situation, like if you called a friend multiple times and then like someone else called them and they picked up first try, devastating.
Yeah, it feels so much worse that instead of just immediately talking to Nico and being like, hey, this is a bad like grudge to hold, she's like, no, I'm just gonna ignore him. Hope he stops. What?
She could have told him all these things before like, forget dying. This is the worst thing Bianca has ever done to Nico, because what? She could have told him ages ago that, like, the person you're angry with is not Percy, it's me. You have to stop blaming Percy, and, like, how holding grudges is, like, our fatal flaw as children of Hades, and that is an interesting idea, because I don't know that we really know Bianca well enough to know if that is actually her fatal flaw, or if she's just kind of saying that to Nico.
I feel we didn't get Bianca that long for me to be like, oh yeah, she definitely has the fatal flaw of like holding grudges. But I feel like it doesn't fit her. She has more of like a sacrificial thing going on. Where like
Yeah.
a few times throughout the Titan's Curse, like she's like, oh, I'll put myself in harm's way, especially like for her own death, where she's like, I have to give everyone else a chance. So I feel like she's more like Percy, where it's the loyalty rather than grudges.
It also might just be the eldest sister in her, trying having to sacrifice herself and take care of everyone, and But also, I mean, it does kind of make sense, I guess, for some fatal flaws to be passed down on like the godly side, because like I would bet real money that Annabeth Chase is not the only child of Athena whose fatal flaw is their pride.
Mhm.
But yeah, we really don't see enough of Bianca, I think, to make a definitive judgment about whether she's just kind of including herself in this to give this advice to Nico, or if it's like actually true for her. Okay, another thing I wrote down because it killed me. The way that Nico asks why she would reach out to Percy and not him, and then says like it's not fair, because that it's not fair just really emphasizes how young he is, because that is such a little kid thing to say, and it feels very naive, and that's heartbreaking.
The fact he's 11 here, like he is still a full year before the start of the Lightning Thief.
I know.
And he's already lost his sister, lived in the Labyrinth for months. That's insane. That's a child.
Nico has some lore already, and he's younger than Percy was when this started. God.
He's gonna be a great case for a therapist one day.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Honestly, many of them would be fascinating to a therapist, I feel like. Yeah, and then, I mean, speaking of Nico being naive, the whole point Annabeth makes about how Kronos would twist anyone to his cause, and the way he's like, I don't care, I just want my sister back, as if that isn't exactly the kind of thing that Kronos would use to twist him to his cause. Like, he just, like, is so focused on his goals that he doesn't even realize he can be and is actively being manipulated by other people because of this.
I get it though. Like, I would let someone like destroy the world. Like, if something happened to one of my sisters, be like, I don't care. I don't care. I will do anything like to get them back. I get it. Sorry to the rest of the world, but
It's valid. I'm not saying that he's not valid in his feelings. It's just it's devastating and it's heartbreaking, and
he's just a baby.
he is. And for Bianca to tell him like, if you love me, stop trying to bring me back. Ugh. I hate it. I hate it. And then, she's like, we have to go. You're drawing attention from Kronos. And she tells him that she loves him and to remember what she said, and she's gone. And you know what? Actually, I changed my mind. Bianca should have stayed away because this was worse somehow than her just not talking to him. This was worse than us just not seeing her again. We also don't unpack it at all. We just go to bed. Like, we called up our dead friend. Good night.
I want to know the few minutes after. Annabeth Grover and Tyson are also still there right now. Like, I couldn't get over that. Like, they're just awkwardly standing there the whole time. And then everyone's like, all right, that was fun. We have to go tomorrow.
Incredibly, like, emotionally vulnerable and, like, raw moment. And everybody's just like, well,
that was fun.
I guess, yeah.
Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
That was crazy. Let's go to bed.
I'm just imagining them handing out blankets afterwards, like, so you guys can sleep on the couch. And Mika's just got tears in his eyes the entire time.
I mean, and that's the consequences of having slightly larger children taking care of a child. They're not emotionally mature enough to handle this. But then, when we go to sleep, we get both an information dream and a myth dream, which is always fun. And so in our information dream, Percy sees Luke on Mount Tam, which is all, like, reconstructed now. He's in armor, but his sword is missing. And we also see Kelly again. And we also see Campe, who has come to join the ranks of Kronos' army, which Luke, doesn't like. He thinks she's too chaotic. Kelly kind of asks if he's bothered by having to destroy his own camp, and also if he's having second thoughts about his quote-unquote special part. And he says no to both, but personally, I believe that his answer to both is yes. It doesn't excuse the choices that he's made, but he is in over his head, and he has been for several books now. And also, if Twitter spoils anything about Luke's special role for you, Julie, I am killing Elon Musk myself.
I literally unfollowed both you and the Demigod debut Twitter, hoping that, like, it would clear my For You page. It hasn't. I'm like, I'm not interacting with any of these tweets. I'm trying to, like, mute every time, like, I see something. I'm like, please don't show this to me again. Please don't show this to me again. Please don't show this to me again. I was like, what is the point of this button if it's not doing anything to the algorithm? I'm like, stop.
The algorithm is hot garbage. It really is. But also the fact that you unfollowed me on Twitter, fake friend.
You didn't follow me back, first of all.
Oh, what?
You wouldn't let me follow you back. I remember we had a conversation about it and you were like, my Twitter is private. I'm not letting you follow me.
That's true. I probably would have denied your request.
So it's fine.
But now you can post in good conscience knowing that I won't see any of your stuff.
Close enough to be on the podcast, not close enough to be on the Twitter.
No, exactly. We can have a podcast, but we cannot follow each other on Twitter. That's too intimate.
Yeah. Back to the book.
I guess back to our dreams. Kelly then, like, dream attacks Percy.
First of all, great power. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very interesting. Like, Kelly is such an interesting character. I love her. I know she's a villain, but I support women's wrongs. But so when she attacks him, we switch to another Daedalus dream. And so it's years later from the Icarus dream that we had last time. And he's there with another small boy. This one is called Perdix. And Daedalus really seems to hate this kid. Or at least he's, like, jealous that this child is going to surpass him someday. And also the child has very wild ideas about making automaton bodies so that people never die. So that's cool. That's regular. This child also just has absolutely no filter because he starts asking about Icarus and saying he's going to make his own wings that won't fail. And dude, read the room.
He's a kid though.
He is, but, like, some children need to learn to read the room.
Well,
stop asking.
Now he's never going to learn to read the room, is he?
And the only way to teach him is pushing him out of a tower.
I'm just saying. It was not a smart decision, but in the spur of the moment, he did make a choice that did result in his nephew's death.
What is this passive voice? What are you, the New York Times? What are you doing?
But I have to say, okay, the way that when he, like, starts falling out the window, he's like, help me. And Daedalus goes, better make your own wings and do it quick. Like, incredible. An incredible lie, but awful.
He had that ready from the minute he threw the beetle. He was like,
Oh, absolutely. He's like, what kind of cool line am I gonna drop here?
what cool line am I going to say when my child nephew falls?
Just like my son did. Actually, fun fact. And then Athena appears, and she is not happy about this. And I love that Percy's like, I heard that voice before. It's Athena, Annabeth's mom. Like, I just love that that's immediately the. Which, I mean, it probably would be mine too, but it's also, like, it's just funny. We have to make everything about Annabeth. Of course, Athena is not happy because she had blessed Perdix, and so she punishes Daedalus in some way as our dream cuts out and Percy wakes up. Excellent dreams there. Any thoughts on our dreams?
I want to know what's going on between Kelly and Luke because their interactions in these dreams, especially like Kelly can see that Percy's there.
It's a little voyeuristic, a little freaky.
Yeah, the Kelly Luke situation is because it feels like Kelly is coming on to him like all the time, it feels like. And then Luke feels very much not interested in that.
No means no, Kelly.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's like feeling up his arm and he's like, no, I gotta think about like the mission. And I respect that.
No, this is about the mission and the special role that he's gonna play. So when Percy wakes up, Grover is also awake because he can't sleep and he's watching like the Nature Channel. And somehow it's June 13th, which is a whole week after they left camp. And I'm not going to get back on my soapbox about how if it's June 13th, that would mean that Percy, who attends school in New York City, would not even be out of school. But, every time it's that early in the summer, I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, there's some Lotus Casino screwy time vibes happening here in the Labyrinth because, it's been a whole week. And Percy realizes that this means, Grover's deadline with the Council of the Cloven Elders has passed. And if he goes back to camp, he's going to lose his searcher's license.
Aww.
It feels so wild to me that the council is pushing so hard for him to lose his license when he's like the only searcher to ever come back alive. How are they so mad that he hasn't found Pan yet? When Pan's been gone for 2,000 years and Grover's gotten closer than anyone else in just two. Like, let him cook. He's doing his best with this impossible task.
Also, he's been on multiple world-saving quests in the meantime.
Right.
Like, hello.
Exactly. I mean, he saved the lightning bolt with Percy and then got the searcher's license, spent a year searching, ended up lost in a Cyclops cave. And then at some point, they pulled all the searchers back to go into schools to look for demigods. And that's why Grover was in Maine to find the D'Angelos. So really, Grover hasn't even searched. Like, there was at least 6 months there where Grover wasn't actively searching. He was in schools looking for half-bloods. And then after their quest, when he had that like moment with Pan in New Mexico, then he's been searching since then, I guess. But the council just annoys me because these are probably satyrs who never did the whole searching thing because the whole like all the searchers tend to die kind of thing. So they're a bunch of out of touch older people making decisions that are not at all reflective of the actual lived experience of the people that the decisions are affecting. Like, this feels so familiar to me.
I can't quite put my finger on it.
It's something for sure.
No.
I don't understand there being this time limit. Like they just what? Anyway, the next morning as they're leaving to go back into the labyrinth, Percy kind of offers to let Nico come with them because seeing Perdix in the dream really reminded him of Nico. But Nico says he needs time to think, and Eurydion promises to keep him safe, and also Eurydion plans to take the flesh-eating horses to the next rodeo. And like, I just have some questions about the logistics of that. What is he planning to do with them there? Is he gonna ride them? Is he gonna have them eat the competition? Like, what are you doing with flesh-eating horses at a rodeo?
I don't like the implication there.
No. And he also apparently helped Hephaestus out one time with a trick that he wanted to play on Ares and Aphrodite, which does make me wonder if he was somehow involved in the Waterland trap from the first book.
Oh.
But in return, Hephaestus gave him a way to find the forges, which he then like gives to Annabeth. And unfortunately, it turns out to be a tiny metal spider. So Annabeth is terrified of it, but we follow it anyway and end up at a set of monkey bars over a huge pit. And Annabeth goes, "Oh, I'm great at these," and just swings over. And I just have to read what Percy had to say about that because I just think it's very funny. He goes, "She's scared of tiny spiders, but not plummeting to death from a set of monkey bars. Go figure.
Just crawl things.
We all have our struggles. Leave her alone." Were either of you good at monkey bars, like as a kid?
No, I straight wrote that in my notes. I said I would not survive the monkey bar pit. I know for a fact I'm getting to the third rung and I'm falling.
That's real.
0 upper body strength. None. I'd probably try to like hook my leg onto it or something so I wouldn't fall off.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. I was like, my go-to move as a kid to get across was to grab 2 of them and swing my legs up to the like opposite sidebar and hook my legs on and then like pull myself to where I could sit on top and then I would just like crawl across the top. And that feels like the way to do it. Like I think you got to get the arms and the legs involved.
More stable.
Yeah, so you're not betting your life just on your grip strength because no, we would die.
Have you ever tried the pull-up bars at like the gym? I'm falling off those immediately.
I don't have the athletic abilities to be a demigod, and it's scenes like this that remind me of that.
Exactly.
Like I would have been dead book 1.
Yeah, I'm getting stuck in the Lotus Casino.
It sounds like a great time.
That's if I even make it there.
Honestly, I was pro staying in the Lotus Casino. Like I think there would be less to worry about. Like I could just vibe and play games.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
I don't see the drawbacks, so I know it would work.
The only drawback I can think of is like the people who you left outside. But if you just never leave, you're not going to remember the people.
Mm-hmm.
You're just vibing, you know? So unfortunately, it seems like a great situation for me. And then one of my favorite monster encounters of the series. They come to a room full of broken pencils and dead bodies, you know, your classic classroom vibes. And there's a sphinx in there, which Tyson is terrified of since he was attacked by one. And Julie is now ready to take on the sphinx solo.
I will single-handedly destroy them. Leave Tyson alone.
And also, this monster is written for me personally because this is Rick's not at all disguised critique of standardized testing. Starting with the fact that she's got the blue ribbon that says she's been rated exemplary because that's literally what schools do when you do well on standardized testing. Like you get your National Blue Ribbon School Award if your test scores are high enough to be considered exemplary. And then there's like the fact that she changed her riddle to just a bunch of random facts and you have to fill it in with a number 2 pencil and a test booklet and there's a Scrantron machine for grading and like it's all right there.
Scantrons.
It is what would have been the name of the standardized test when Rick was a teacher in Texas? The tax test, maybe? Was it still the tax test? Or was it whatever was before the tax test?
What the hell is that?
The tax test stood for Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills. I took it in elementary school and middle school. And then they changed to the STAR test. It was like the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness or something. It was 2 A's.
We had the PSSAs, which became the Keystones.
I think ours was CMAS, but I know they changed it.
Isn't it weird how they changed all of them?
They changed to the online ones. So some of them changed.
Ours were never online.
Oh.
Maybe we were just low tech. They're like, we can't afford computers for all these kids.
I know my class was used as like, I'm from Colorado. I know our class was used because we had a class of like 20. So they used us as like a guinea pig for the one test. And the next year it was changed for everyone. And so I only took it online twice. But I think it was better because the hand ones, I hate doing handwritten tests.
I do not miss that at all.
I'm made for the modern world.
I'm looking up the history of Texas state standardized testing now. Fun fact. I don't know when exactly Rick quit teaching, but the tax test, the Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills, first started being used in 2003, and that's before The Lightning Thief came out, so I would assume he was still a teacher. So personally, I'm going to take this as criticism of the tax test because that's what I suffered through as a child, and that means a lot to me. But also, you know, as a kid, I used to love standardized testing days because I could just do the test and then I got to read for the rest of the day, which was my dream. But like, as a teacher, standardized test days are so boring.
Do you actually feed them through the Scantron machine? Do you have one of those?
I wish. That would be kind of cool.
I heard that you can cheat if you put chapstick on the end of it.
Interesting.
I've never tried that though. I was too scared. But like if you put chapstick on like the barcode, it wouldn't mark any of them wrong.
Oh,
interesting.
Fun fact, kids, if you want to cheat on a Scantron, try it.
And if it doesn't work out, well,
you didn't hear it from me.
No, you didn't hear this from us at all. Then for the Annabeth of it all in this situation, this is such a great character moment for her. The fatal flaw is really fatal flawing here.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way she's immediately like, oh, yes, I've got this. I know what riddle she's going to ask. Once again, I'm going to read what Percy says because I love it. I didn't argue too hard. I didn't want Annabeth getting devoured by a monster, but I figured if the Sphinx was going to ask riddles, Annabeth was the best one of us to try. Ah, the faith he has in her. I love it. There's also the way that she gets up to the podium to like take the quiz and kind of pushes the skeleton out of the way. And then she apologizes to it, like as it hits the ground, because she can be sweet and prideful. She contains multitudes.
This is the most Annabeth scene Annabeth has ever been. Like, this is her peak.
Oh, absolutely. This is the most Annabeth has ever been. The girl that you are, Miss Annabeth Chase. This is where the Annabeth Chase defender thing comes in, because some of these actions might need defending. I'm big enough to admit that, because she's literally getting the questions right. That's the thing. Every question the Sphinx throws at her, she's just like answering easily, and she still goes, "This test is stupid and an insult to my intelligence, and I won't do it." And Percy's like half impressed at her willingness to stand up for herself and half angry that she's gonna get them all killed. Reading this as a kid, I was so mad at her for this. It's like, why are you not just doing the easy thing? Like, you have it's easy. It's easy. The test is easy for you. Why are you not just doing it? Do it and be done. And as an adult, I just think it's incredibly funny because it feels so 14-year-old of her. Because I feel like even the most prideful, smart people I know, by the time they got to college, if they were faced with an easy exam, they were like, thank God, this was easy. Like, you sort of get over that I have to be the smartest person in the room, like things need to be hard, I need to really struggle and work for it. You know, like you just kind of realize it's not that deep.
Sometimes you just need to know facts.
Yeah, she hasn't realized that, because knowing the facts is still impressive. I don't even know half of these facts. I don't know the capital of, what is it, Bulgaria?
Oh, I'm dead on that question.
Nobody really needs to know the capital of Bulgaria. Sorry if we have any Bulgarian listeners, but let's be real.
That's like the first question,
Yeah.
right? The capital of Bulgaria? So she gets asked, what is the capital of Bulgaria? Then, what is the square root of 16?
Easy.
That one's easy. What president signed the Emancipation
Easy.
Proclamation?
Easy.
Also easy if you're American. Then, I guess that's it. That's all she gets, because then she gets mad about it.
I want to know her full test. I want to
Yeah.
know what the Sphinx was going to ask.
Release the full test. Back of the book special.
I mean, we would have been dead on the
Yeah.
first question, but I want to know the full test.
Give me like a different Bulgaria. Come on, give me a relevant country.
Give us a real country.
Bulgaria hate is strong.
Yeah.
No, I love this as an Annabeth moment. Like, it's just a great character thing for her, because even with how smart and wise she is, she still just gets really stupid when it comes to her pride. Then the fact that she's like, no, I'm gonna fight this Sphinx, and Percy's like, no, you're not. Get invisible and get out of here. Like, she absolutely would have been toast if her friends were not here. I just appreciate the reminder that fatal flaws can indeed be fatal.
Yeah.
What would you do here? Because I cannot imagine any time in my life that I would do what she, like, I have always loved to take the easy road. I have always loved an easy test. I would have been like, oh, sweet, let's go. And then taken the opportunity to like show off how smart I am with a bunch of silly little facts I know.
There's no way. She got through the first few questions easy. I would not risk my life to be like, make this harder.
There's this newish like a game show that they tried to take off. I don't really think it's working. It was who was it? It was like the guys on Jeopardy who were really good at Jeopardy. Damn it. Aaron Judge sucks.
There's those Yankees.
What's the score?
It's nothing, but this is the second out he made. He sucks. What was I saying? Oh, there's this game show. It's called The Chase. It was like the
Annabeth Chase, you say? Sorry.
Yes, the three guys who were like really, really good at Jeopardy were like the guys who were like on it, and then they were like challenged by like these people, and so you would go up against like either it was like Ken Jennings, James Holzhauer, or Brad something, I don't remember his last name, and you guys would like get a question and like you would have to lock in your answers and see like if he got it right. If you got it right, you would move down trying to like get to this money, and then like the chaser would be following you, and they would also, if they would also get it right, they got to move down. So there were like 3 different levels you could choose. So you like took this quiz in the beginning to like get your starting amount. Like if you got like 10 questions right, you'd get $10,000 or whatever. And so you could stay at $10,000 and they would be like 4 steps behind you. Or you could take $5,000 and they'd be 5 steps behind you. So you could have a better chance of actually getting money. Or they would like offer you like an incredible amount, like here's $100,000 and they're 3 steps behind you. And so that would be like how difficult the questions would be. So I was like, Annabeth would purposely choose the hardest one, I feel like. She'd be
Absolutely.
like, no, challenge me.
She'd be like, I'm taking $1 million. They're 1 step behind me. Let's go.
And she would crush them.
Yeah, I believe in her.
I'm sure of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait, what just happened? Now I'm watching the Yankees.
Stan singled to score Glaber.
Okay, because I'm like, now it's 1-0.
Yeah.
Should I pull up the Yankees?
Great, yay, go Yankees. I'm a bandwagon Yankees fan now that the Astros are out. And I hope my mom is no longer listening to this podcast because I will not be invited home ever again because I just said that.
Your mom just has terrible taste in baseball. Sorry.
Hey, my mom's taste in baseball is my taste in baseball. I'm glad the Mets aren't playing tonight because I would not be able to be recording a podcast right now with how loud my neighbors were last night.
That was a terrible game.
When they like tied it, all of a sudden there was screaming from upstairs. And we were like, someone is unwell. Do we need to go upstairs and check on our neighbors?
Wellness check.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I hear like 2-run home run, let's go. And I was like, oh, they're watching the Mets. And so then we were like listening to them through the floor, just like yelling about the end of this game. And then whenever the Mets lost, there was like a little bit of yelling and then it just got like really quiet upstairs. So we took them a little care package that included alcohol and chocolate because we figured they need it.
What did they say?
I don't know. We didn't get anything back.
Oh, did you just leave it?
We just left it, yeah. Because we were like, it's
Oh.
like we're booing them, you know? Like when you would boo your neighbors as a child.
Can't say I ever booed my neighbor.
No!
Wait, what? Who are your neighbors?
Oh, it was like a thing. Like you would put together a little like fall themed treats for your friend, and then you would like ding dong ditch and run away, and they would like open the door. They would be like, "Oh, you've been booed by your friend," and then you had to like boo someone else, and so it was just like a fun little thing. And so that's what we.
No, never did that.
That was the vibe we were trying to cultivate last night.
I have like a vague memory of maybe doing it for a holiday because I remember doing that, but I don't know if it was like booing or if it was just a care package.
Probably just a care package. Maybe suburban Houston was the only place that did booing.
Gotta look into booing after this.
Okay, wait. What do we have left to talk about? Okay, I have literally two bullet points left. One of them is that I really appreciate Tyson throwing the Scantron machine at the Sphinx.
Yes.
Anytime it says Tyson picks up something large and throws it, I love it.
Big fan.
Makes me laugh. Big fan. And then, okay, close out the chapter with somehow we are not killed by Annabeth's pride and manage to make it through the doorway and back into the maze corridor. And that is it for now. And I do have to say, chapters 11 and 12 are some of my favorite chapters in, not even just in Percy Jackson, in all of fiction. I have been waiting to get to chapters 11, 12, and 13 since we started this podcast. So,
oh, wow.
And I'm really talking them up, and you're going to read them, and you're going to dislike them. I actually feel like you will not be a fan of chapter 11 now that I have said that. But yeah, big fan of these chapters coming up. So, do you have any predictions?
Let's see. Chapter 11, I set myself on fire. How do you say that god's name?
Hephaestus?
Yeah, Hephaestus. He's the god of fire, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so assuming they find him or his workshop and that happens in there. And then chapter 12, I take a permanent vacation. This makes it sound like Percy dies, which is not possible because he can't die. But I'm like, what? It's just like permanent vacation. Sounds like he dies. So every time it sounds like that, I'm like, he's just going to visit the underworld in my head. Because I'm like, he dies.
Interesting.
I'm just saying, like, permanent vacation sounds like you're going to die.
It sounds like a tiny part of you is rooting for Percy to die right now.
Gives big death vibes to me.
It does give death vibes, you're right.
That'd be quite the power move of Rick to just kill off the main character
Wouldn't that be crazy?
halfway through the book.
Didn't you also predict that last time?
I keep like saying like it would be so cool if they killed off Percy because it'd be like an insane thing to do in a children's book series.
The last book is not Percy Jackson.
But I'm like, I know he's not gonna do it, but what if he did? What if he did? Like that would be insane. Like that would be mind blowing to like for a kid to read that, you know?
I kind of want to read a kid's series where, yeah.
So I actually have another Rick Riordan series for you if
God.
you're interested in a main character who dies immediately. Because Magnus Chase dies like chapter 3. I love that series. I think after this original 5, it's my favorite Rick Riordan series.
I'd honestly say the same.
Ah!
They scored again?
Yes.
What inning?
Top of the 4th. And now it's 4-1, so I'm going to go kill myself.
What? What happened?
Carlos Rodon happened. I can't. Ugh. So after this, you won't be hearing from me.
Maybe if the Yankees don't kill her, we will have chapters 11 and 12 next time. But actually, Julie, you're not allowed to kill yourself until you've read those chapters because I need it.
For you, I will hold on. However, if they do not make it out of the ALDS, no promises. Listen to me, Yankees. My death will be on your hands.
So, yeah, if you're wondering if we'll be back, I guess pay attention to postseason baseball. If the Yankees don't do well, could be the end of this podcast.
It's a tragic life of a baseball fan. What are you going to do? You all better be rooting for the Yankees if you want the podcast to continue. Those are the rules.
See, you notice how my team was eliminated? My team got literally swept in the wild card round, and I didn't kill myself. Very demure, very mindful. A normal reaction to sports.
Boring. Boring. My entire self-worth is based on my baseball team performing well.
Being upset with the Yankees isn't enough. I need the players to think about me on the daily.
Yes.
Julie is going to kill herself in front of the Yankees to change the trajectory of their lives forever.
Aaron Judge, watch out. I'm going to traumatize you because you've traumatized me for the past 3 years.
Oh, we've talked about so many other things. I'm like, I don't even know how to finish this off.
I've derailed the thought process.
Well, no, the baseball first derailed the thought process.
All right. It's postseason. I cannot be held responsible for my actions.
I don't know. Do you want to plug your social media and whatnot?
Oh, I can. Yeah, I'm Percy Jackson Post _post on pretty much everything. Instagram, Twitter, I think is PJ_post. Couldn't get the full name. Yeah, pretty active on Instagram. That's my real peak.
Thank you for being here, Bella. This was a delight.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
This is lovely.
Fantastic. Julie has to go watch the Yankees.
Yep.
And I will see you next time, Julie, for my favorite chapters. Later.
See you later.
Bye.
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 Good luck to the Yankees.
Oh, thank you. Your lips, God's ears.
Hi, thanks for listening. In case you were wondering, the Yankees are in fact still in it and are 2 wins now from making the World Series. Yay. As always, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Threads at @DemigodDebutPod. And if you liked what you heard, please drop us a review wherever you're listening. See you in 2 weeks for some more Battle of the Labyrinth. Bye!